Yes.
I drank a bad food for college, just boys and beyond.
Yeah, whatever that was.
I love you, Isha. I love Cool. So Chandana, do you want to kick us off?
Sure, I'd love to. So welcome everybody and thank you for taking time out and for actually being on this call with us tonight. And a special welcome to all our beautiful friends from China. This is just so wonderful. Yeah. It's like,
love it.
How did we get so lucky to have beautiful, beautiful all of you from India and China and wherever else in the world. Thank you for joining us. And Marnie, Isha and I are just so looking forward to speaking with you all about children, parents, and if you were ever kids, this call probably is for you. I mean, that's if you were ever a child. If.
Yeah.
So where do we start? We do have a topic, and for everyone who knows Marnie, she is, and for those of you few of you who don't know Marnie is this brilliant, beautiful being from the US, and she's the co-creator of CPCK, and what else? Marnie, can I ask you to take over?
Sure, absolutely, sure. I can. Well, I was gonna say though, every time Chandana introduces me or says anything to me, she always makes me cry because she's just a kindness that's beyond, as is Isha. So just a little bit about Conscious Parents, Conscious Kids. If you're not familiar with what it is one of the access specialty classes. And there's classes that happen all over the world with facilitators such as Chandana, Isha. We have a bunch of others as well. And as Chandana said, it's not just if you're a parent, it's if you've ever been a kid. So it offers just a lot of tools for dynamics with family relationships, parenting, kids, a lot of tools for more ease in your life, just really in any area. So it's kind of a little bit about what it's about. And we do have a topic for today, as Chandana said, and we're never committed to our topics. We can talk about anything and you can ask anything and we will.
We are not committed people. We are not.
We're not to anything, right? Yeah. So Chandana, I wonder if I could start with a question for you.
Yes, please.
So when did you first find the tools of Conscious Parents, Conscious Kids, part one of the question? And then how has it affected the way that you parent, the way you show up in the world?
Thank you for asking me that question, Marnie. You know, I was in the CF training in Rome, and Isha and I were there together. And I remember Lale announced that, you know, lunchtime, we're going to be having a conversation around the hub classes, and you know, we have the CPCK class conversation happening around in one of the corners in the room, and if anyone wants to come join us, please join us. And I was just sitting there and I was like, I want to go. And then when the time came, I was like, nah, I don't want to go, Isha, let's just go out for lunch. So she looked at me and she says, no, Mom, you wanted to go, why don't you go? I was like, nah, parenting class. I mean, who would need a parenting class? It's just so easy to parent. Why would you really need to go for a parenting class? I was like, nah, you know, I'm not going. And she's the one who said, Mom, you need to go. And I'm not going for lunch. You go for that call, for that class. So I remember going and sitting with Glenna and Lale, and we were about 10, 12 of us sitting around, and you were not there, Marnie, that time. I remember you were doing the training in Costa Rica. And I remember sitting with everybody, and we were like, the questions that were coming up were, it was around parenting, yet it wasn't focused just around what's the right age to get my child to eat solid food, or how much milk do I give my kids to drink. It wasn't that. it was so much wider. The questions that we were asked each other, it was really about that half an hour conversation. It expanded my universe with being a parent, with being a child. And I actually saw things which I had never seen till then. And I remember coming back to the room and hugging Isha and saying, thank you yet again. Thank you yet again for never giving up on me and sending me to that call. So that's how I actually
That's
chose.
awesome.
Yeah.
I've never actually heard that story. I love that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yes.
So what would you say? And I know the tools within Conscious Parents, Conscious Kids, just they're easy and they're pragmatic and they change things so quickly. But what would you say is one of the biggest changes you've experienced from using the tools from CPCK?
Oh, one of the biggest tools is there's just so much of ease with being me around my kids. You know, that switching on me when I would step out and switching me off when I would come into the house because I had to turn on my mother mode. That's no more.
Yeah.
There are
Wow,
no
that's
modes.
awesome.
Yeah, there are no modes to switch on and switch off. There are no roles. It's just me. Whether I'm in the house, whether I'm out, it's just me. And the beauty is that I get work done around them so much faster, so easily. Although my daughter's sitting on the call right now, close your ears. And it's like, I get everything done really easily. Yeah. And also with my parents, it's changed the dynamics with my parents. Totally, Marnie.
Yeah. Well, I love what you said about you just get to be you all the time, because that's such a really, I would say, fundamental thing of CPCK is tools to give you more of you even when you're around kids or parents or family, which sometimes is the trickiest place. Sometimes it's the place we give us up the quickest and the most, because we have all these definitions of what our role is supposed to be and what we're supposed to do. And then we judge ourselves relentlessly. Are we doing what we're supposed to do? And are we getting it right? So giving yourself the freedom, permission to be you in all areas. Wow. Like how much does that just change? Absolutely everything. So Isha, how about to you? What would kind of same question? So I know how you found it. You made your mom find it. That's how you found it. So what's one of the ways that it's impacted you and created change for you?
Well, my mom's always been my best friend since I was born, and that goes without saying. And we've always had this communion with each other that's not understandable. That's totally beyond understanding. Yet for some reason, there's always, not always, but there was a weird energy that was there. And the more we've started facilitating this class together, and the more she's being this tool, it's just dropped. The walls have dropped, the barriers have dropped, the perfectionism.
It was like a conflict, right?
Yeah. The conflict.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we would never think that people who we love so much, we'd separate from them. But there was a weird separation in the sense of I felt, well, with my sexualness, I just felt like I couldn't be sexual around her because she's my mom. And it was not just sexualness. I was cutting so much off also with trying to be the good daughter and always being the right daughter, doing the right thing, being the good Indian daughter. And that wall has just dropped and there's no need for that anymore. And it's one of the greatest gifts.
Yeah. No, so what we've said so far, which is that.
Can I ask you? Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I still am interrupting you.
Go for it.
Can I ask you what has CPCK changed for you? And I'd love to know, like I say, you're a co-creator of CPCK. How has that been for you?
Well, let me start with that one. Being a co-creator of CPCK has been absolutely phenomenal. And if you don't know the history of it, Glenna Rice was one of the very first facilitators, and she was the first facilitator. And for a long time, she was the only facilitator. And then it opened up a little bit. Megan Hill became one, Brendan Watt became one, Grace Douglas, but it was just the four of them. And for a long time, someone would ask Gary Douglas, founder of Access Consciousness, hey, can we expand CPCK to more facilitators? And he would say, no, it's these four, and that's what it is for right now. And then one day I was like, I'm gonna ask again, hey, Gary, is there any possibility? And he said, yes. And I was like, yes. So now we have a specialty that we can invite people to, and it really doesn't have a lot of prereqs to become a facilitator of it. And what I love about creating with it is we kind of create it the same way you parent, which is no projections, no expectations. We're constantly asking it, what would you like to be? Who are you today? How would you like to show up in the world? And then we just let it kind of create itself. So it's not a lot of rules and structure. It's really just a very fun thing to play with. And a target for me is that everybody, whether they ever take a CPCK class or not, has one tool. Every parent, every child, everybody that's ever been a child, one tool that they can take and that they can use, because it literally will change everything in your life, even one simple tool. So that's what's exciting to me about it. And how I came across it in the first place, I actually was at a facilitator training in Costa Rica in 2012. And during that time, they had a lot of before class and lunchtime and after class. They would do introduction classes, specialty classes with different facilitators. And so Brendan Watt and Glenna Rice were there, and one lunchtime they were doing a CPCK class. And so I sat through and listened. It was just blown away at how much ease they had with parenting, and how, as you said, Chandana, there was no role to fulfill. They just got to be them in all kinds of ways. So I was really excited about it after that. And I was like, I'm gonna take, well, it wasn't an option to be a facilitator at that time, but definitely took more classes and found more tools from that. So.
Wow. Yeah, that is so beautiful. Thank you for sharing. It's amazing how this class, like you said, it's very much like you're playing with kids.
Yeah.
Right? It's very much like the creation of CPCK. Every time that we create a class anywhere in the world, it almost has a way of telling you what to do. It's like, you want to say, okay, on this date is my class, this is the venue, and this is the way I want to do it. And the class just sits by and says, oh yeah, you think so? I'll tell you who's in control. It's almost like that.
Not what you think. True story. So, and then I have to say, so Chandana became a CPCK facilitator, and I remember she sent me a question in a Skype or something and said, hey, can my daughter Isha and I facilitate together? And it had such this like, yes. So I'm just curious, the two of you, like, how did that come about? Chandana, where you asked that question, and then what is it like for the two of you facilitating together? I know what it's like listening to it. It's phenomenal. So what's it like for the two of you?
When we were going to the States, and we had a class, somebody had asked for a CPCK class. We were just going for a holiday. So we thought, wow, what else is possible? Let's do it, And at that time, there were just the 5 introduction calls that I had completed, which are a prereq to become a 1 or a 2-day class facilitator. I had just finished the 5 intros, and there was no manual. There was no 1-day class that had been facilitated. And I was like, well, I really don't know what to do here. And we got to get a manual, and we got to get stuff together. So I remember I was chatting with Marnie, and I was like, do we have a manual for this 1 day? And she was like, yeah, we are going to be creating one. I said, awesome. And I was sitting with Isha and talking to her, and just, I was really excited. I was like a baby who was going to get, going to be facilitating the first 1-day CPCK class in the world. And it was like really exciting. And I was like, wow, this is just so exciting with a manual. And she was just looking at me, and, she's like, wow, mom, I see you. I see how excited that enthusiasm is like massive. I was like, yeah, it can really change so much in the world, and it can create such a great future. And she was like, yeah, you're right. And, parents and mothers and daughters and mothers and sons and fathers and daughters. And she said she's saying it's almost like all the walls and all the barriers between relationships will melt. And I looked at her and I said, you have a way of saying these things. I said, I wish I could facilitate this class with you. And she looked at me and she smiled and she said, Mom, the prereq is that I have to be a mom. It's not happening.
Hold on 9 months. I'll prepare and come back.
As I said,
hold on 9 months.
I'm fulfilling my prereqs.
I'm at it.
So as you can see,
yeah.
Yes, and Isha knows nothing about out-creating the rules. So no, it really had just a really fun energy. And it's funny, I don't know if you knew this, Chandana and Isha, but we had a call with the CPCK creators. It was a bad time for India, so you were not on. And actually that question came up from Anthony Mattis and from Glenna, who have teenage children. And I said, yeah, if you're a platinum facilitator and you have a child you'd like to facilitate with, go for it. Because what does that create in the world,
Wow.
That's
how beautiful
awesome.
is that?
Yeah.
Wow.
So you started
How does it get better?
Awesome. Truly, how does
Yeah.
it get any better than this? Yes.
Yeah.
It's amazing seeing
Yeah.
so many facilitators now in CPCK and how CPCK is just growing. It's beautiful.
Well,
And we did have a topic for today, right?
We did. And we can go there if you'd like to. And if you all have questions about anything, they can be very specific to something occurring in your world at the moment, or just in general question, or what would you guys like to talk about, know more about today? And I would say, and we've touched on these things already this morning, but really when you look at any kind of family relationships, whether you're the kid, whether you're the parent, whether you're dealing with adult parents or family, what Isha has talked about many times so eloquently is that the ending of the fight. So what if there was no fight between you and anybody in your family, whatever relationship dynamic there might be, and whatever's currently going on? What if there was no fight? Like, what if there was just the willingness to always look at things from an interesting point of view, not have to fight, not have to get it right? And I think for me, the biggest thing was really letting myself off the hook of, I had really decided that this parenting thing was extremely crucial for me to get the right answer and do it correctly. Because if not, my kids were going to end up being like awful people on the planet, and it would be all my fault. And so there was all this pressure I put on myself to have the right answer. And Chandana, like you said, from everything from am I feeding them enough, to are they watching too much TV, to everything. And then they get, to the teenage years, and it's a whole different set of topics. But how much pressure do we put on ourselves to get it right, because we've decided it's really very crucial for us not to screw this up? And if you could let yourself off the hook, and as Chandana said, just show up and be you, and let go of the expectations and the judgment you have of you as a parent, as a kid, as a sibling, anything, how much more fun would you have, and how much more ease would there be in your life?
Yeah, actually. That fight between a parent and a child, it's not the fight between the parent and the child. It's the point of view that they hold on to so strongly that they believe is right, versus somebody else's point of view that they believe is wrong. And it's just about a point of view, which starts to make it all about the mom or the dad, and that you are wrong and you never get me, and you don't see what I mean. It's just that one little thing, but that one little thing takes over the entire relationship. And it's amazing how, just by being that space of allowance, and just by being that space of acknowledging that kids will do what they will do, and there's no point banging your head against a wall. It's great to just ask a question, and knowing what question to ask can change so much.
Yes.
Can I ask one question?
Yes, please.
Yes.
And you can decide whether it's a question for the class or for here. I sense that there's a thin line between having your child's back and disempowering them as if they can't do anything. So, you kind of, I don't know how to put it, but I sense like I'm sometimes very conflicted between, am I disempowering my child, or am I just having his back and giving him the space to be and go at his own space and pace the way he wishes to show up, which is not in congruence with what this reality largely expects and demands of children. So what questions can I ask to know when I'm actually disempowering and not seeing him as the infinite being that he is, while thinking I'm having his back?
So, truth, do you actually already know in every moment that you make a particular choice? Do you actually know? Do you actually have a sense of, oh, that was empowering? That actually wasn't.
Because of my constant thing of like people also asking questions and projecting and very directly asking that you're ruining his life or whatever, then I get into this whole confusion that do I know or don't I know? Like, which one is like am I unwilling to see something which I should be seeing? Or
So
am I defending? Like that whole thing happens.
Right. So when you're questioning your knowing, are you disempowering you?
Yeah.
So what if it starts with you not disempowering you, and then that's what flows to your child, rather than trying to get it right with, am I empowering him or disempowering him? What if it's, oh, what would it take for me to be empowered? What would it take for me to trust my knowing? What would it take for me to trust my awareness? What if it starts there? And does that make sense?
It makes sense. I don't know how to do it. Maybe.
Well, what if it's just the question though? Like, what would it take for me to trust my knowing? Like from a place of truly asking the question, what would it take for me to trust my knowing?
So I've made that demand in last 1 year
Okay.
to trust my knowing, and there's been so much ease with my son, between him and me, and in his life, in my life in general as parent and child. And then when people ask directly, and then I'm like, what if actually I'm unwilling to see certain, because there's so much ease and there is no problem at all. I wonder at times if I'm unwilling to see something.
Can I say something here?
People are saying,
sorry,
yeah.
I have a bad habit of interrupting.
Yes,
oh my
please,
God, I need to stop doing that.
No,
okay,
no,
but
please.
I am still doing that. So it's like, with parents, with you being a parent and you having your child, and you're looking at a situation, and then you're going into that space of, am I doing it right? Am I doing it wrong? Do I trust myself? Do I not trust myself? It's generally a fight that's between this reality and your reality. So, right, a question I love asking is that if it wasn't a fight between this reality and my reality, what could I choose? What do I know? If it's not about the fight, if it's not about the conflict, about what is right and what is wrong, and how it's supposed to be, how it's supposed to be. Parenting is all about how it's supposed to be.
And if I can add to that, if that would be okay, and I interrupt you.
Please do.
This is just how it's going.
It runs in the family. Oh my God.
Very broad, badly brought up.
Badly
Sharna.
brought up. Very
Badly
badly.
brought up.
Like mother, daughter.
Yes, please.
Everywhere we're unwilling to lose as the role we've given ourselves, we're unwilling to lose our limitations with regards to that as well. So if this is light for you, everywhere you're unwilling to lose as a parent, and everywhere you're unwilling for your child to lose, that holds on to all the judgments, the refined judgments, the expectations, projections, judgments, separations, rejections, and conclusions. Can you destroy and uncreate that, please? And be willing to lose all of it. Yes. And allow the empowerment and consciousness to be the most dominant energy and entity of your world, rather than the fear of losing out.
What am I afraid of losing out here? Like,
no, I didn't say you're afraid of
losing out. When you say, like,
what I said was everywhere we're unwilling to lose everywhere we're unwilling to lose or be seen as a bad parent.
Okay. Yeah.
We're unwilling to lose our limitations as well.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
And are you willing to get it wrong?
Not yet, but getting there.
That's like the golden rule of parenting.
I know. Must get it right.
It's very scary to, I mean, you know, in my life now, I feel like, okay, I'm willing to be wrong and I'm okay about making wrong choices. But since it's another life, who I'm supposed to be the main person right now.
Mess up your own life. You can go bankrupt. You can
die
of
whatever.
cancer, but you can't be a bad parent.
You can't mess up your child. I'm okay to be judged as a bad parent, but the thing that
somebody else's life.
A big decision on thinking we were taking it jointly, and actually, anyway, yeah.
Yes.
The energy of the responsibility that we put on ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Sorry, Chandana, keep going.
No,
I was going to say something else.
I was just saying that that's the energy of the responsibility that we put on ourselves as a parent. Yeah. And responsibility is such a lie, because we have to constantly make the next one less than us. And that is true disempowerment. So when you're really
Please say that again. I didn't hear it. I went blank.
It's like when you're being really responsible about something.
Yeah.
You really have to let the next person know and believe that you are greater than them and you know more than them. So that is the energy of disempowerment. When you make yourself responsible for your child.
And also with responsibility, you have to really cut off, you have to put your barriers, like according to me, just my point of view, you have to put your barriers up and cut the world from contributing to you, which is what responsibility also is for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a cutting off of your receiving. And it goes back to what Chandana said. It's when she brought up at the beginning, when she would go home and had to step into the role of being mom, the role of being responsible, the role of parenting, you're cutting off you, and then you're cutting off your ability to gift and receive. Because what creates greater is actually your presence, not you getting it right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, all three of you. Thank you.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Thank you for the question. Thank you for the question. And it really speaks to a fundamental lie that society functions with regards to parenting. We are taught we're supposed to be responsible. We are taught we are superior to the children in our lives, and we have to set them on the right path. That's what we're told. So all of the lies about that, can we destroy and create it?
Yes.
Right and wrong, good and bad, cut and pluck, all nine shorts, ways and beyond.
Whoa. That's a lot of energy.
Yes, it is.
What's so funny with like the right path is that paths are like ever changing. Like with 13 also, like we're asking to change tracks with every time that's being demanded of us. And every time we decide we have to walk on the right path and the right track, we don't allow ourselves to change tracks onto every time consciousness is demanding us to be a completely different energy.
Wow, yeah. Yeah.
Just something interesting.
It is.
Yeah.
Just a question in the chat.
Yeah.
Yes.
Samantha says, what are the questions I could ask when I'm looking to choose and bring a being to life on earth? What are the questions couples who are looking to get pregnant ask?
Oh, we had that.
Chandana, you want to go with that? Yeah.
Do you remember, Marnie, when I shared those photographs with you? About
Yeah.
that, there was this similar call that we did, and there was this beautiful lady from Turkey who was on, and so she typed in her question, which was in Turkish, and I don't happen to know that language, and and the next, you know, we just began talking about the beings and how you get pregnant, and she sent me a message after 3 months saying, "Hey, thank you for your call. I got pregnant." So, well, CPCK does do some really crazy stuff for you if you're willing to go there. Probably that's why being a mother is a prereq.
Right.
Yeah.
So what were some of the questions that you came?
Well, some of the questions that I remember, it was just about inviting the being that would be contributing to you and your body and your marriage and your partner, even if you're not married. Somebody who could create more joy in your life, more magic in your life, who would be willing to receive from you and who would be willing to give to you, to show up. Because it's actually the being that chooses you as a parent. We think it's us who, you know, who have our babies, but it's really the being that chooses the parent. And when you're willing to be that energy of an invitation, you're actually speaking to the energy that's available to create a life form. It's a lot like running your bars, right? When you run the creativity, creating connections, creating life forms, run that a lot, and also put it into your head, and into your spouse's head. You know, that would you like to have a baby? Because it's something that has to be both partners. And is there anything else, Marnie, that you'd like to add here?
Well, I love that. The other thing I would say is destroy and uncreate anything that's from other lifetimes of vows that you made for beings to come back and join you, so that it's coming from the space of creation, not from fulfilling something from another lifetime.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah. Otherwise, we do these little autopilot things of we swore and then they show up rather than the choice and the creation that you were talking about. Yeah.
Wow.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Yeah. Thank you for the question.
So can I share something?
Yes.
Yes.
So I think a couple of days ago, I messaged Isha. I saw a very strange dream. So I'm not married yet in this lifetime, and I don't have children yet. But I saw that I was giving birth to children, like 2 children. And it's so funny. It's not this reality, because I gave birth to one child today, and the next day I gave birth to another child. And
that was quick.
Yeah.
Talk about a humanoid.
And it's almost like the whole process was so, I only get the word bliss. It was so easy. And I don't know if you can get the energy of it. It was just really, really beautiful. And I immediately messaged Isha. I said, listen, I saw this. And she's like, I wonder what you're birthing or giving birth to. And I was like, yeah. And then the day after that day and the next day, I've only been crying. And, there were like these weird energies that came up. And I was like, what is that? Like, does it have to do anything? I mean, I'm not trying to connect dots. It's just something that popped and thought I should share. It's just like the whole energy of having a child, and it's just so beautiful in its own way. While when we put our point of views about responsibilities and bringing them up and doing it right, we sort of bastardize it and make it so difficult. And yeah, I don't know why I'm saying all these things, but yeah, this is what just came up. So.
Well, but so is the giving birth, is it the same energy, whether it's a physical child or some sort of creation that you're putting into the world, a book or a class or a picture that you paint or whatever? Is it the same energy of you can either have the ease and the gifting and the receiving and the allowing it to be, or you can have what you just said, the projections and the what it should be, and then it turns into this responsible thing you must take care of and make turn out right. So is the energy of birthing just the choices of the energy of birthing the same, whether it's a physical child or other creations, entity of any kind?
Yeah.
Body or not body?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Like,
so, and how much do you know about the energy of the ease and the co-creation and the gifting and receiving? How much have you already chosen that energy in your life?
Yeah. Wow.
So if and when you choose an actual baby, do you already know about choosing that energy?
Yeah.
Yeah. So how cool is that?
Very cool.
Can you acknowledge? Yeah. Can you acknowledge, wow, I already get the energy of what's possible here. And if I ever choose that with another life, I can just turn that up and choose more of that because I actually get that energy.
Yeah. The ease with it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. That's awesome.
Thank you.
And how cool is it to start out knowing that, right? Chandana?
Yeah, absolutely.
I didn't.
Yeah, right. I didn't.
It took me a minute. Yeah.
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 Do we have any?
I was going to say, we have totally not gone down the track of peer pressure. And
not at all.
Not and that's all. Fine. And we still can, or whatever. Did someone have a question?
We have some questions from China. Hi everyone.
Hi everyone. Thank you, sweetheart, for being here and for being such a phenomenal translator. It's amazing how
My pleasure. Pleasure. We have 64 people online and about double the size in the WeChat waiting for the recording. How does it go?
How is this possible?
Yeah. So, do you mind if I do the Chinese first?
Yes, please.
Yeah, go ahead.
我要做什么样的选择，让我的父母愿意面对一切，而不是逃避着，让我来替他们出面呢？ So what choice can I make to allow myself to actually deal with their own things instead of them avoiding and me doing everything for them?
Do you want to go with that, Chandana?
Sure. Well, I would just suggest to let them fail. Let them just fail. They will choose to do it themselves.
And I would absolutely that. And I would add to, what if I decided my job is as a parent? Because, for example, if I've decided that it's my job to make them happy, then I'm not going to let them fail, or I'm not going to let them choose and then experience whatever that choice created. I'm going to try to fix it for them because I've decided it's my job to make them happy, just as one example. So really look at, what have I decided my job is as a parent that keeps me doing all of these things, and then fire yourself from your job. And your only job is to have and be more of you every single day. That's it.
That was
Isha,
brilliant.
anything?
Thank you.
Yes. Did you want to add
Mom,
anything, Isha?
yeah, real quick. Mom and I were actually in Rome at the CF training, and we did exactly that. Just one second, we look at each other, and I actually fired her from her job. And it's
Yeah.
it took me by shock for 1 second, but it's only created greater ever since.
Yeah.
I love that tool.
And I remember when you fired me from my job, I actually cried for a whole day. And I didn't know why I was crying.
Yeah.
I just sat in the room and I just cried. And she's like, Mom, it's okay. And I'm like, I don't know why I'm crying, but I'm just crying. I don't know. And then I was like, the next morning when I got up, there was a sense of that uselessness. I'm no longer needed.
Yep.
And that created so much of ease in my world. That's a really big one. Yes.
On the other side of the tears though, so which is so interesting, because how much was that really locked into your body as far as this is my role as a parent, and the actually letting that go, the releasing of everything that locked into you, and the responsibility and the pressure and all of that, when we buy into the role of the lie of the role.
So
and
true.
Then letting that go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Could you talk a little bit about this whole thing about being uselessness? Like it's just so real in our world to be a like the whole thing about being a contribution, we make it more like, oh, I got to be useful to this person. I got to add value to this person. It could be a spouse, it could be your children, it could be anybody like this. And this whole need of being useful is so it keeps you in a prison. Like it's like a slave. You're a slave to it. How's not even a question, but what questions can we ask to be useless in any relationship, like mother, child, husband, wife, whatever, like.
Can I address that real quick?
Yes, you look like you did. I'm like, Isha. Go.
Go for it.
So I love your question, and you know exactly why I love it. So, but because I had that for the longest time of being useful, of being felt like I'm needed, to feel like I want to contribute or be a contribution. But when you have this energy of always being useful, you're also always going to find people who can only use you. And by the end of it, you'll just feel used, which is again a lie, because that's exactly what you were looking for, which is why it showed up. Instead, if you actually go to being completely useless, according to me, you can actually find people, and people can find you, which can actually be a true gifting and receiving, rather than the need to fulfill your validation and the need to fulfill that empty space which you're looking to fulfill by being used, if that makes sense. According to me,
so much sense. Yes. And it puts us on the hamster wheel of, I must feel useful. And as you said, then the people that use you show up, and then you resent them for using you, and then you have to be used. So you keep letting them use you, and then you resent them for using you. And then you just keep going around the hamster wheel. So perhaps that's another place to fire ourselves from the role of having to be useful.
Yeah.
Awesome question. Chandana, did you want to add anything to that?
Are you muted? Wait.
No, actually, I didn't want to add anything. I'm just listening and I'm like, wow. I'm just looking at all those places where I'm still trying to be useful. And mentally, I'm like, okay, I fire myself from the job.
Yeah, so how much value do we get from doing rather than acknowledging our value for being? So, and if we weren't looking to all of the things that we were doing to determine if we were getting it right and not getting it wrong, to determine what our value is, to determine, how we quote feel about ourselves, then what if we could just recognize that it's our being that contributes?
Yeah.
We have a, can you please elaborate on that, Isha? Is more of the useful part, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
If you're okay, if you're always wanting to be useful, according to me, it's an energy of us not being willing to contribute to ourselves, which is why there's that lack of contribution which is showing up in our world of wanting to feel useful. It comes from a huge part of seeking validation. It's a point of view we have that if we are able to feel useful, or quote unquote, it's not, because that's not the space of true contribution. If you're trying to be useful, you're looking for validation. But if you actually shift your point of view and perspective towards being a contribution, you can actually allow everyone into your world and be a gift to everyone rather than being useful and eventually feeling used because you didn't get the validation you were seeking for. Everything that is. Right, wrong, good and bad, pot and pork, online shorts, boys and beyonds. Do you want to add to that?
No,
That was amazing.
Really amazing. Yeah.
Yes.
Please
Please elaborate the lie of
one.
I have a question.
Yes.
Yeah. Hello, Mari. Hello, Isha. This is Chandana.
Hello.
Okay, so I would how much, I mean, where we need to be with our children. Yeah. So I at times tell my child to keep the things at its place, but the things here and there on the bed, and so I many times, and then finally when I'm it goes. Then finally become angry, and then I have to tell him firmly that okay, now you have to keep this everything on its place. So I mean, at times I think I say that okay, let me just be in balance, and then I tell him, I ask him questions. Okay, do you enjoy it? Would you like keep things? Okay, I also don't know what question to ask at that point of time. Then I managed to ask some questions with an expected answer actually at that point of time, not an open-ended question. So actually I would like to change this. Okay, I would actually like him to be more responsible. So I don't know what I'm asking as of now. So I'm so all over when I'm asking this question as a mother, but when I'm ask the question from as a me, it's very, this question is clear to me actually. I hope you're getting me something you're able to get me.
So it's a little bit hard to hear you. I don't know what, there's like some kind of noise going on. So I've got a little bit of it, but not totally. So I understand it's about your child and getting him to be more responsible. Was it, what's the issue? Like not picking up things, or did you get it, Chandana? I just got little pieces
I think
of what you're saying.
that's just what I got to. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So have you decided that it's your job to teach your kids to be, or your child to be responsible? Is it your job to make sure he's responsible?
No, it's not my job.
So when you're wanting him to do particular things, what is it that, I feel like I need more information. I'm having a hard time hearing.
I know. Yeah. So can I come in here?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So it's almost like, just mute her, please, Rish. Thank you for that. Yes. So it's, when kids mess their rooms up and stuff like that up, a lot of children just like to be messy, right? A great question would be to ask them, hey, do you like the mess? Sometimes they're not even aware that it's messy. Probably just getting them to be aware of that could have and make a different choice. just showing him that there's a different possibility. And if he turns around and says, yeah, I like it to be messy, you can always say that, it doesn't work for us, because it's like something that Gary says, never give kids more than 4 rules, because if you give a 5th one, they're going to break it. So maybe one of the rules that you can make with the kids is this, to keep his room tidy. But first, get him to acknowledge that he enjoys the mess. So then he can make a different choice.
And I would say too, sometimes it's recognizing what you said, Chandana. They maybe like the mess. Maybe the chaos is not a thing for them. And so, interesting point of view, I have the point of view that he should like it tidy. Interesting point of view, I have the point of view that it should be this way. Interesting point of view, I have the point of view that he should be picking it up. And this is just for me, but with my kids, their room was their room. I was like, just shut the door. I don't want to look at it. Just shut the door. It's your room. You want it to be. And one time my son's room was so out of control that I couldn't even stand it, even though it wasn't my room. But I went, okay, he doesn't mind the mess. I hate the mess. So I'm going to clean it up because I'm the one who's tired of the mess. So I cleaned it up. And it was so funny because he went in there and he went, oh, it feels really good in here. Thanks, Mom. And from that time, he'll get a little bit messy and he cleans it up. But I gave him the sense of, but not because I said you must, because I like it this way. Yeah. It was his space to do what he wanted with. But when it was bugging me so bad, I'm like, yeah, it's bugging me. So I'm going to do this. But then it gave him the sense of a different choice. And he went, oh, and it would have been fine if he just went back to messy. I didn't do it for him. I did it for me. So I get there's actually ways that you can kind of come together on, hey, I'm going to let this go over here, but this one right here really matters to me. So what kind of deal can we come to where we can work out this? So for me, our common living space, I'm like, hey, this is the space. When you're done with your dishes, put them in the sink. When you're, take your socks upstairs, whatever. We're the space we all share because we're all here together. Don't leave your stuff behind. But your room, do what you want. And I'm not saying that's the right answer because it's not about a right answer. But what I would say is your best friend as a parent is the tool. Interesting point of view. I have that point of view. The moment I decide you should eat your broccoli, interesting point of view. I have that point of view. The moment I decide your room should not be so messy, interesting point of view. I have that point of view. And when you use that tool very, very often, when you get to the other side of what you had concluded or the point of view you had, you kind of go, it's actually not a big deal. Okay. So then there's a space to choose what's going to create and what's going to work for both of you. But anytime you're locked in a point of view, you have to engage in a fight because your point of view gives your kids something to push up against because they don't like having points of view put on them. And you create the energy of fight with every single point of view you hold on to. So to end the fight is to lose your points of view, recognize that you have them and go, interesting point of view. I have that point of view and let it go. Then there's nothing to fight. Then you can create.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that.
Awesome.
Actually, as of now, okay, we all are, we are sharing the same room and I am actually, I would like him to keep his room as messy as he would like. But since we are, I would like to keep things clean, neat and tidy and we are sharing the same room. So yeah, so that thing comes frequently. But as you shared, I just got some awareness from the things which you shared, Mari, and I will definitely try that out. Yeah.
Yes. And it is okay as a parent to go, hey, this one thing's really important to me. How can we find a way for this to work together? I have that conversation, and I know it's different ages. You don't have that conversation with a 2-year-old, but as they get older, you can have the conversations of like, if there's something really important to me, I'll say, this matters to me. Would you be willing to contribute to this? And then what can I contribute to something that really matters to you? And then we come together and then they're doing the thing that I want them to, but for their reason, not because I'm trying to control them, because we found a way to contribute to what is important to both of us in a co-creation kind of thing.
Superb.
Right.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for your question. Yes. And one of the things with the cleaning thing that worked for me and my kids was I was like, and I didn't actually, this was even the main living space. It wasn't a requirement, but I said, okay, I have an idea. So what if I make a list of all of the things that need to get done? You each pick 1 or 2 things that would be fun for you on the list. And then when it's all done, we'll go out to dinner. We'll go bowling. We'll go do whatever the thing is. And then it was, they got a choice. First of all, ooh, I actually like, doing the dishes. I'll do the dishes. And they also knew when these 1 or 2 things that they got to choose were done, we were going to go do something fun. So how can you find creative ways to create the environment you desire, which your kids are doing for their reasons, not for yours? Because if it becomes a rule or an expectation or a have to, you've lost them. But if it can be an inviting and engaging with them, then everybody has way more fun. So, and it's kind of when you like coaches around all kinds of sports around the world, it's how do you get your players to do what you desire them to do for their reasons? It's also called manipulation, but don't tell anyone.
Actually, I have been doing this. Okay, this kind of a reinforcement, and for every kind of a manipulation, I used to give this reinforcement for the things that he would do it nicely, or So have been doing that. I stopped that off lately. I'll start that again. Thank you for that.
Yes, thank you. Cool. So any other questions?
Yeah.
Huan, was there more?
Yeah, there are more. There are quite a few more. Can I ask them together?
Yes.
Maybe you answer them together. Okay. 怎样可以做自己？爸爸不会以其他的事情压我。例如头发的事情，我好不爽，怎样可以轻松的做自己？ So one of the question is, how do I be myself so that I don't get affected by my dad? Like he would make me upset because of my hair. I guess the hairstyle she's choosing. And also the next question is, how do I ask questions to get my child to have the courage to face difficulties and really take responsibility for his own life?
Let's go with the first
These are the 2 questions.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, these are the 2 questions.
Isha, you want to go with the first one?
Can you repeat the first one again, please? I'm sorry, I remember the second one. Which was the first question?
The first question is, how do I be myself and not get affected by my dad? Like he would
right,
affect
got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
A question I love asking over here is, if you're getting affected, a question you can ask yourself is, who am I being here? Who am I being? Because if you were truly being an infinite being, the projections that were coming at you would go through you. The only reason you feel affected is because you feel like arrows hitting you, is because we have a point of view. But if you were willing to be the space of an infinite being, of interesting point of view, I have this point of view. Interesting point of view, you have this point of view. Any projection, expectation, anything coming at you will go through you and out of you, and you won't have to react to it at all. So a great question to ask is, who am I being? Am I being an infinite being here? If not, then who am I being? And everywhere I'm being that. And everywhere I decided that was a greater way to be. Right, wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, online, shorts, boys and beyonds.
And I love to use the analogy of tug of war. I don't know if that's like a very American game or if it's, but it's,
it's
the rope. Okay.
Here too,
okay. Yeah. Okay. But where you've got both sides of the rope and you're going back and forth, and there's the fight to which side is going to win and pull the rope over. The tug of war ends when one person or one side drops the rope. So if Chandana and I are tug of warring and I drop the rope, there's no more tug of war. Yeah. It's over. So everything that Isha just said, the tools that she gave is the dropping of the rope. So there's nothing for your dad and you to fight about, because you're not holding onto the rope anymore.
Yeah.
And then the second question, sorry.
What was the second one? Yeah.
The second question is, what question can I ask to get my children to have the courage to face difficulties and really truly take responsibility for himself?
Marnie, you want to go
I
with
would,
that one?
I would say let go of the expectation that he should. Let go of the expectation that he should take responsibility for himself. Let go of the expectation of anything. And it's interesting, often when we're dealing with our kids, we look at the thing we're trying to get them to do, the thing we're trying to teach them, the thing we want to make sure that they get. But what if it was more about asking, how can I have and be more of me today? Because it's the space that we be that invites our kids to the same. So anytime we're trying to get them to do or be anything, it's the thing that Isha just said with the arrows. It's like this thing. It's a solid point of view. So it's letting go of those. And how do you do that? Just keep asking, how can I be greater today than I was yesterday? How can I have that patience?
And I also love asking, what energy, space, consciousness, and choice can my body and I be to be the empowerment around them that they require with total ease. If you're willing to be the space of empowerment around them, you'll also invite them to knowing that that's a reality they can choose as well.
And one of my favorite questions is, what will my life be like if I choose this? And maybe 5 years is too much for the child to get. Just throw him a 6-month question there.
And something that I'd also just love over here is, how many conclusions are we using to already think that the number of difficulties they're going to have to face is this, this, and this? Yeah. What if they're going to create and choose their own life? And what if all that they ask for and choose is ease, joy, and glory? What if there have to be more difficulties and challenges that show up for them?
Yeah,
Ooh.
I love that.
Yeah. Can I ask a question here?
Yes.
So, like all these questions that we've asked about giving up the fight and, you know, everything, isn't it relevant to every other relationship too? Like, if we're being more of us, we'll be an invitation to our parents or to our spouse or to whoever we meet every day, even a stranger. Like, and even the fight, even the fight is also relevant because we have a point of view of what the other person has. Like the point of view of, oh, if that person has this point of view, that means they're against me, they are the other team. So then I have to defend my point of view to not lose, or, you know, whatever that is. So yeah, like, yeah.
Does consciousness include teams?
No.
Or in the space? or is it a true kingdom of we that exists, that exists?
Yeah. So that's exactly, like, that's the space I'm coming from. Like, it's the fight exists because we have teams in our heads. Yeah. Like, it's like the whole world is against me. Our point of view is we're alone in this. We have to do all of this by ourselves. Like,
so did you just basically say that the only thing required to end the fight is for me to stop fighting and for me to lose my points of view?
Yeah, basically.
Does that actually end the fight? So how often do we make it about someone else? And is it actually really ever about anyone else? Our kid, our parent, our coworker, or anything? Or do I actually have the power and capacity to end the fight because I choose to end the fight? Because I let go of my points of view. Yeah.
And what if you're ending the fight is actually you being the space of just choosing freedom? You know, when we are fighting, we have to always hold on to our point of view. And that point of view is what always controls us. You can never make a choice beyond that point of view then. Everything revolves around that point of view.
Yeah.
Chandana and Isha, I think we need to do a Kajabi course called End the Fight. I think
that's
percolating.
I think that's a good idea.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
I just like to share one more thing. I don't know when the How to Become Money workbook was written, but there's this one sentence that Gary talks about in it. He says, so when somebody says, can we say I am love along with the other, I am power, I am money, I am all of that. He says, Gary says, but aren't we, like, I am love is a given. he says that when he says I am love, he doesn't talk about love from a space of destructor implant, but the space of oneness and the space of that we're the we kingdom that we talk about. So if we were always being that energy, would we ever need to fight anybody?
Good question.
I'm loving this call. I'm so grateful to actually have this call here. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, sweetheart.
And it was written before we were born. That's what I remember.
Yeah, that's right. Do we have more questions, Juan, or are we? Wonderful. So, guys, this is like
So grateful for this.
Yeah, or it's like.
And I just want to add one more thing real quick to Reshma's question. Reshma, if it's light for you, you can always invite consciousness to infest your reality and melt all your points of views. And melt all the unconsciousness out of your world. If you're willing to receive the contribution that consciousness is actually here to be, you can ask for it to infest your reality and melt all your points of views.
Yeah.
Wowzers.
Oh,
So life would just be like fun and easy then, Isha.
Yeah.
Well, I thank you all for being here. And as always, Chandana and Isha, thank you. It's always a pleasure to do these Zooms with you. And thank you, Juan, for inviting and translating and all of that. And wow, so many really cool takeaways from this conversation.
Yeah, truly. And it's like every time we have a conversation, there's so much more that opens up. There's so much of space that opens up, not just with parenting, but with so much more. And I truly wonder what the classes can create in the world, what the 2-day class can create in the world.
Yes.
And well, we are facilitating one together, the three of us.
Yes.
And this is a very, very cordial invitation to all of you. Please join us. Join us live, join us online. We are in India on the, what dates did we look at? 13th and 14th. Sorry, what was it?
14th of March, right?
Yes, 13th and, no, it was 14th and 15th of March.
14th and 15th, yes, right.
14th and 15th of March. It will be a 2-day class. And, well, your lives will never be the same. Your relationships will never be the same.
Yeah. 2 days of really diving in. Like, this is just the scratching the surface of all that's available to really shift and create change.
Yes.
And if you'd like to have a testimony from a person who has been in 2-day classes, you can reach out to me. And that's all I would say about it.
And I would just add to that, so she's not a parent. So that's the other thing. Whether you are or aren't is irrelevant, because it is about you having and being more of you, because that's what creates ease with relationships everywhere. So doesn't matter. As Chandana said in the beginning, if you've ever been a kid, it's for you. So,
yeah.
So thank you all.
And we have our beautiful hosts on, Reshma, George, Samantha, and Vasudha. And please feel free to reach out to any of them. You can reach out to any of us. And of course, there's beautiful Juan from China. And just reach out to any of us. And we will be happy to give you details of the venue and more.
Yes.
Thanks you so much for the call. It was epic.
Thank you, Sam.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys, for being on.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for being on. It's been wonderful. All right. Good night.
Good night.
Good day, Marnie.
Good night.
Bye, guys. Love you all. Thank you so much.
Bye, sweetheart. Thank you.